I got some of it. It's the FERDA RIFF podcast for the boys. Don't hit the mic stand, you fucking cocknose. They can hear that.
Like I was saying, it's podcast number 2 because it's the fucking shit, or it's a piece of shit, I don't know. But our guest today was not a piece of shit. That dude was rad as fuck. Who do we have today, Sandy Jones? You already forgot who we had today, didn't you?
I did not. Fucking old Chris Scary Voice from Black Tusk.
God damn. Yes.
You thought you fucking bamboozled me there, didn't you?
I thought I did. I thought I had you for a second.
It's like, for fuck's sakes.
Black Tusk is a fucking band and a half. I found these guys maybe like 3 years ago, and I've been pretty hooked on them ever since. If you're into anything sludge mixed with fucking punk hardcore, like, I know it sounds like a weird mix, but Black Tusk is that fucking band, and they bring it.
All you need to know is they use orange amps, and they like to riff and have a good time.
Talk about fucking riff.
And Georgia is just like a breeding ground for that kind of thing.
Apparently fucking so.
I mean,
they're right down the street from Kylesa. I mean, the fucking, their bassist was from Kylesa.
That's a fucking...
How cool is that?
That's a whole thing, boys.
They're in there tight with fucking Baroness, from what I'm to understand. The guy from, John from Baroness does their artwork, as far as I know.
That's a hard run. That's a hard run to beat. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Fucking Georgia, boys.
What are you boys up to out there? You fucking comment on the fucking Willwards, what you've been up to in this fucking COVID bullshit, huh? You fucking talk to us. I don't think we ever said that in the first one. We never said just talk to us. If you want to just type a comment.
I mean, yeah, whatever. Take a break from pulling your fucking panantler and... Well, tell us what's up, boys.
Fucking some people are ambidextrous there, but...
Ooh, that's a nice thought. Somebody out there pulling their fucking panantler. Listen to us fucking goofs on here.
Well, if you ever need background noise, that's what we're here for. These things are kind of fucking long. If you need to, like, just have some background noise on your TV in the Willard while you're working on something, or maybe writing some fucking riffs.
This podcast went for an hour and a half. If you're pulling your fucking horn that goddamn long...
That's sweat spaghetti, bud.
Jesus Christ, you're going to have a fucking toenail on the tip of your dick.
And as usual, we sound completely different during the conversation than the intro, and for that we're not sorry, but we try to be respectful and not too rowdy during these conversations until, like, well, I don't want to say specific names that we're trying to get on this, because then it won't happen, so I'll just shut the fuck up.
But let's go ahead and do a recap. We fucking had Jamie King last time.
I mean, yeah.
How fucking cool was that?
That's hard to beat, let me tell you. I mean, this thing's... We're trying to make this thing the hotness for the people that are into the heavy tunes and some of the not so heavy tunes. We're into independent bands, and we just like a good riff, boys, and that's...
Fucking FERDA, boys.
I hope by the time this comes out, everybody's stoked on it, and there's a bunch of them, and you're probably listening to it now after, like, we've put a shit ton of them out. You're just like, man, they came a long way in, like, past the 10th episode. Like, they started making more sense.
Yeah.
They're, like, real professional now.
The first episode with Jamie King was very stiff. I even talked about in the intro last time, you know, the man commands a certain fucking thing. It's like talking to your dad. You don't want to swear around him. But this time, I seriously, all week, I had to be like, all right, I gotta fucking unruffle my feathers, because I'm gonna be talking to somebody and I can't act like a total fucking chud. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna tell a really embarrassing story about myself, which we'll get into at some point in this podcast. Because let's face it, at the beginning of this podcast, I was still a little bit stiff. But once I told my pants shitting story, things seemed to loosen up a little bit.
I don't know why you get like a fucking, like, you're working at a call center for like the first half of a conversation. You're just like, hi there, nice to meet you. Yeah, that's great. Tell me more about that. And I'm just like, you gotta fucking, because I don't know what it is about my fat ass. I just don't think about it, and then I just start talking.
I think next podcast I'll drop a fun little story about one time I met a couple of wrestlers. Because for next guest, for sure I'll have to do a segment that I'm going to have to do every once in a while called 5 Minutes of Fangirling. And I guess you'll just have to be here for the next fucking podcast to hear what that's all about.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, oh.
Oh. Watch me get owned by fucking Chris at one point.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's fucking class act, boys. I'll tell you that. I think you all are gonna be stoked on it. And if you haven't heard his band yet, you need to get on that. The links will be in that description if you're on YouTube. And I don't know how to link anywhere else because we haven't gotten that far yet. So don't fucking worry about it.
Yeah.
Just figure it out.
He told us they just here a couple weeks ago dropped a thing on Bandcamp. B-sides, rarities, shit like that. So that's a few songs on there. Said you can go on there and pay whatever you want. Drop them a couple bucks, few bucks, $10, whatever. How much you like Black Tusk? I'm gonna go give them like $10.
You got to help the boys out during this situation. All these bands are getting boned, and it's helping everybody out. Everybody wins when bands are they're still able to make good tunes and get by just like the rest of us. And hell, I know I'm a big fan. We're all going to support them and any other people we can.
Fuck yeah. And
venues, not just bands, but venues.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Everybody here in the Queen City that might be listening,
a lot of what I really wanted to do with this podcast was specifically that, because fuck COVID. Let's take away from the negative parts of COVID and bring out there, at some point in this conversation, I was kind of really trying to get it out of them, what are you trying to do creatively right now? I mean, you guys trying to stream, or because I would love to see more bands getting out in front of people and being able to do what they do creatively, and keep on going and not be fucking miserable, all pent up and whatever. But at the same time, it's fuck, man, you don't want to get sick either. So I don't know. I just want to spread a bunch of positivity. Chris was a great fucking guy. I love Black Tusk. I hope everybody's out there is doing great. I hope you don't shit yourself like I have.
Oh, and if you're in a band and you're fucking streaming, or if you got tunes up, be sure to fucking put that in the Whitword as well, or you can send us a message, because if your shit's rad and we're, even if it's not rad shit, we can still be pals. But
I mean, fuck yeah.
We're always looking for future guests. If you want to fucking lend a couple words with us, with the boys, and we'll get you on there.
The accurate, the right way down the Whitword.
Fucking saunted right with your fucking peepers, bud.
Fucking get your hands off your panhandler.
So with that said, I'm Sandy Jones.
And I've never said my name on here.
You really fucking haven't.
I'm gonna keep that going.
We'll fucking just pick a new random name every time.
I am going to go by... And here's Chris Scary Adams with the FERDA RIFF podcast.
Fuck off!
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, man. Where are you located?
I'm sorry?
Where are you located?
We're in Cincinnati.
Oh, okay, cool. I've been to COSI.
I'm sorry?
I've been to COSI, the little science museum.
Okay. Yeah, that's about 2 hours north of us. It's up in Columbus.
Oh, that's Columbus. Okay, well, all right. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about then.
It's all the same.
It's close enough.
It's Ohio.
Yeah, that's really the best way to put it. It's Ohio.
Once you get to the line of the Midwest, it just doesn't fucking stop until you're on the other side. It's all the Midwest. It's one big thing.
I've seen a tornado in Ohio. That was pretty scary.
Yeah, sometimes those will sneak through, but it's always extreme random. It's never during the season you'd expect it to be in. It's oh, by the way, there's a tornado downtown. Oh, cool. That's right. Fucking random.
Yeah, we get them around here sometimes.
Well, you guys have to deal with fucking hurricanes and stuff, right?
It's weird. I've lived in Savannah for probably about a third of my life, and I've only ever had to evacuate once. Maybe twice.
That makes sense. Hey, could you do me a favor there, bud, and just introduce everybody that's listening to who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I am Chris Adams. Some people know me as Scary. I play guitar in the band Black Tusk from Savannah, Georgia.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
Fuck yeah. Why do they call you Scary?
It was like one of those jokes that went too far, and then like, so in high school I was in this band and we joked around. It was I was the backup band was Kill Your Mother, Drink Her Blood, and I just like made up words off the top of my head, and I just most of the time just like sometimes I would just like read Barry Manilow lyrics, and we called it Scary Manilow featuring Kill Your Mother, Drink Her Blood. Stupid high school stuff that you do. And then, I went to college and somebody heard it there and they're like, oh my God, that guy's scary. So then it like stuck through college and I was like, all right, whatever. Having an adjective for a name is not the weirdest thing. And then I moved to Savannah back in 2006 and I was like, all right, that'll be the end of it. But then like some of the dudes I knew from college lived here in Savannah, and as soon as I moved here, everybody's like, oh, this is that guy Scary you were talking about. I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess that's sticking into my 30s.
I can directly relate to that on a whole level because my nickname is Sandwich Jones.
Sounds delicious.
It is. It started as something I called myself when I went to the bar because if somebody had a sandwich out and about, I was going to ask them for at least half. And
call that open house.
yeah, it's an open house on that sandwich, and it never was, but we got by. But it started as a joke, and then it got more like every time I went to the bar, people knew it. And then I would go to bars that I thought I'd never been to, but apparently had, because, sometimes the liquor calls shots, boys, and sure as shit, they would be like, that's so fucking Sandwich Jones. And I'm like, I have never seen you before in my life. And then I moved to Cincinnati, and people were like, hey, aren't you Sandwich Jones? And I'm like, shit. So it became a business. Now it's my business name.
Oh, there you go.
Can't forget that. It's a whole fucking thing.
So are all of you in Savannah?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, James has been spending his quarantine in Athens, Georgia, which is like on the other side of the state. So like Savannah's southeast and Athens is kind of northwest, kind of about an hour outside of Atlanta. But he's been hanging out with his brother, like helping out up there, like has been working with his brother. So it's been playing during the lockdown quarantine difficult, but we're still riffing and writing ideas and trying to stay active.
Oh, hell yeah.
So with the quarantine, is there anything that you're doing to like keep yourself afloat right now? I know that you have a studio, and I mean, what are some things going on that you're doing?
Yeah, it really sucks because not just for me, but for the entire world. But like right at the beginning of this whole lockdown thing, Andrew and I had just finished building the studio in my detached garage, and I had just recorded like a little EP for this punk band and a full length for a band here in Savannah. And I was so excited. I was starting to get like people from out of town looking, like requesting rates and stuff, and I was getting really excited. And then all this hit, and I've just been playing drums by myself, playing guitar by myself. You experiment. It's a good time to experiment, learn what works, learn what doesn't when it's your own time.
Oh yeah.
But just been, every now and then we like Andrew and I will sneak out and play guitar together, fully masked up, and just, he's got a kid, and we're trying to think of others when we go out to like wear masks and stuff, and
right, absolutely
trying to stay safe.
Yeah,
it's that special seed time right now. I shoot music videos, and I just invested in like the Black Magic stuff right when the shutdown started, and for like the next 6 months, or not 6 months, the next like few months, I pretty much just filmed cats.
Yeah.
But that's how now you're like, your gear sluttery has found a comfort level with new gear, and when it comes time to really send it, you're like,
oh my God, dude, yeah, it was like right before all this hit, I was just I went down the like avenue of, okay, do I want a fully digital studio or do I want kind of a hybrid? So that's when I started buying some outboard gear, and I started buying some kits from like Classic API and Hairball Audio. So as soon as this hit, I was like, okay, I'm going to build an 1176 compressor. And so I ordered it from Hairball Audio. I mean, I'm not building it from scratch. It's a kit. It comes, it's like putting together a puzzle, but it's still super fun. And it like keeps your mind off what's going on in the world.
Are those the ones that are like, you don't have to solder the kit, or is it?
Oh, no. It's a lot of soldering.
I've seen those too, though. I think like, I can't think of who made it, but I've always wanted to build one of those 1176 kits, or really any of them. The warm audio stuff is what's been getting me by, because I still fiddle with gear.
Yeah, I've got a couple warm audio things. I've got the WA-84s. Actually, there was a festival this past weekend. It was being filmed, and I did the audio production for it. And I used the WA-84s overhead of the drums, and man, they sounded fantastic. They sounded so cool.
Every time we do one of these and someone records, it really just goes off on a pretty deep tangent, and I'm living for it.
There's a lot of gear slaughtery that goes on around here. Dude,
that's like, once you start talking gear, it's just, I could just nerd out for a long time with gear. It's just, there's so much out there and just so much to learn about, that when you find somebody that has like you have that Venn diagram of like, I know this, you know this, we kind of know what's like in the middle, and then I learn stuff from you and you learn stuff from me, and it's just, man, it's so cool.
Oh yeah. What amps are you creeping around these days?
Again, with the start of the lockdown, like I've definitely gone down the retail therapy route. I've gotten a Marshall Jubilee 2555X off my buddy Zach in Virginia. A Soldano Avenger, that thing's pretty cool. Of course, like, my main go-to amp is my orange Rock Reverb 100 Mark III. That thing is so sick. We went to Europe last May, and we rented, both Andrew and I, like, because the orange Rock Reverb Mark III is like it's been my amp for a long time, pretty much the entire time I've been in Black Tusk. But Andrew rented one too, and by the maybe 4 or 5 days in a tour, we were running it at half power with only 2 valves, so like 35 watts. And man, they just sang. They sounded so good.
And the louder they get, the fucking gnarlier they are.
Oh yeah, because then you can like just push it so much harder.
Oh yeah. We're big fans of orange over here.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Andrew, he recently just got an OR 50 off my buddy in Virginia, and man, having an OR on one side and a Rock Reverb on the other, that's nice. That's pretty nice.
Illegal in certain states.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice sound, man. Those ORs are just so sick.
You take that out to certain clubs. I think it's out towards California. They will actually shut you down for such a rig, boys. You're like, that's what all those stickers about reproductive harm are about, is setting up that exact rig.
Surgeon General's warning.
Yeah, they put that on everything now.
So what about guitars?
Man, my go-to these days is my Dunable. I've got I think it was about 2 years ago now, I got my Dunable R2, and that thing has been what I've played pretty much every single time. I've still got my SG. My SG is like I love my SG. It sounds so good, but the Dunable is just so much fun to play. It's got the slightly longer scale than a Gibson. It's a 25.5. And so it just makes, when I go back to a Gibson style or a Gibson scale, it just feels like a kid's guitar.
Oh, I'm sure. Is that, what pickups are in that? Or do they do custom ones, don't they?
Yeah, they do custom. So when I got it, I had the Dunable Direwolf. And then I was playing around with some overdrive pedals, and I kind of wanted something just a little bit more like mid gain, not like low gain, but just something a little bit more PAF style. And so Sasha recommended the Grizzlies. And so I took the Direwolves out of my R2 and put them in my Les Paul Classic that I've had since I was 19. And those pickups made the Les Paul sound absolutely amazing. Just like it sounded like the guitar I've always wanted that Les Paul to sound like. And then the Dunable with the Grizzlies, it didn't like just plugging straight into an amp. It just had like a little bit more, it was a little bit more mellow, but you throw an overdrive on it and it just doesn't like push the overdrive input so hard. So you can actually push the pedal a little harder.
Oh, hell.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty rad. I know that like Les Pauls are generally more like low mid forward rather than just straight up mid forward. So I would say that probably brought out a lot more of that, but not in like a honky way.
It's got some growl to it. I was actually I was playing the Les Paul because I keep my Les Paul in standard tuning. So like if I ever need to do anything in standard, I'll just go to the Les Paul. The R2 and my SGs stay in drop C because that's what Black Tusk plays in. And then Andrew and I also back like 2.5 years ago ordered these custom Silverburst RDs off the AliExpress that were and we had like the Black Tusk BT like inlaid on the headstock, and I mean they're super like we had to completely just gut them, like new pickups, new tuners, new hardware, new pots, everything. But after spending the price he paid on the guitar in parts, it actually turned out to be a good guitar.
Oh, I'm sure.
Fuck yeah. So going back to Savannah, I've actually been to Savannah before. Fucking, that is a sick little town. You were just mentioning something about a festival. Whenever I was there, it was like September, and they had some kind of art festival going on or some shit. And I have a couple of funny stories about Savannah. The first day that I went there, the girl that I was dating at the time, we were staying at Hilton Head Island, and we drove up to Savannah, or down to Savannah, whatever. And the first day there, we noticed there was like the art festival, and we went to some place called River Moon Brewing Company or something like that.
Moon River, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
That place is fucking awesome. And I got super hammered there. And,
as one tends to do in this town.
Dude, Savannah's a cool fucking town, man. Like, I would love to go back there. But anyway, we ended up at some other place. It was like on the way back to Hilton Head Island, and they like served sushi and all that shit. And she got me to eat some of that. And we're driving on the way back to the condo in Hilton Head, and I'm just like guts bubbling. I'm in fucking trouble. Deep fucking horrible trouble. And we get maybe 10 minutes from the fucking place, and I totally shit my pants in her car.
Nice.
Just like I could have shit through a goddamn coffee filter.
Oh man, that's the good stuff.
Oh yeah. So my first thought was I have to go back to Savannah the very next day. And while we're in fucking Hilton Head, 15 hours away from home, between me shitting in her car and to that next day, she's threatened to leave me about 3 different times. But then I was like, no, we got to go back to Savannah tomorrow. They're still having that festival. There's all kinds of shit that I want to do. And she was like, fine, but please don't get fucking wasted again. And I was like, cool. Well, I woke up several hours before her, went, sat on the beach, and got fucking drunk again. And we went back to Savannah, and at some point we got in some crazy fight. And there's like I don't know what that river is. It like runs through the end of Savannah or whatever. I don't know what it goes up into Georgia.
Yeah, it's a really hard name to pronounce. It's called the Savannah River.
Well fucking played, sir.
Well,
No, seriously, it's called the Savannah River.
Well played.
Says the guy who thought Kosai was in fucking Cincinnati.
Oh,
True,
come
true.
on. Ohio doesn't count.
It's a suburb. Come on.
Oh, fuck.
Township, bud. Township.
Dude, every time I'm like, yeah, I live in Savannah, they're like, oh, that's right outside of Atlanta, right? So I get it.
Yeah. I went to Rome one time. It was pretty rad. I was down there photographing country bands. They like country music in Rome. If you guys didn't know that, boy howdy, fucking.
That's just Georgia.
Yeah, I would say that's the case. Yeah, but
I was never into country music, and then I moved to Savannah, and I've recorded a few country bands, and I can get down on some of it. A lot of it I can't, but there was a record I did for a band here, and it's still to this day one of my favorite records I've ever recorded because it was just so much fun.
They were like the thing that was wild to me was like I was down there with a Cincinnati band, and those people had never heard of them before, but like they were just stoked that like somebody from out of town was there to jam, and it was weird because like some metal crowds are definitely not that way, but like those crowds were pumped.
Right.
Granted, they were also hammered, but like what do you expect?
Yeah.
It's a country show, like
And going back to my story, we were down by the Savannah River, and at that point, the fight had escalated to a point where she was like, "Fuck you," and I was just like, "All right, fine. I'll take a bus back home." And I'm wandering around Savannah for a while, and I fucking meet up with like some super fucking like super Southern boys who like have a boat tied off, and I'm just somehow I managed to end up on these people's fucking boat, and I made it back to Savannah at some point later that night, and she was just like still there in town. And yeah, I don't know. It was just fucking, it was weird. It was cool. People were fucking nice there. Savannah is just a cool fucking place.
It's got its moments.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
It's got its moments. It's any town. Like once you live here and you see like what goes on and stuff, like you're like, okay, there's some seedy stuff happening here. But, and it really sucks. Like now, like my favorite, like, so I moved away from Savannah for a few years just because my wife is from here. And, once you're from somewhere, you're just like, I just want to leave. So we split out and we moved up to Virginia for a couple of years. And when we moved back, I was so excited about hitting, my favorite restaurants, my favorite bars. And in this past year, all but like two of my favorite restaurants have closed. My favorite, like the punk rock metal country bar, the Jinx, like where all the bands played, like it's gone.
Yeah. It's
Like,
the same this way.
Yeah, it's the same everywhere.
I have no idea, like when bands can start playing again. I have no idea where they're going to play around here.
It's starting to be everywhere. I mean, you see it like I see it all over fucking social media like every day. Like another fucking great venue is shutting down or getting asshole tight to shutting down.
I mean, luckily we did like a little like 10-day run in January, and that was the only thing we've got to do this year. We're supposed to play Muddy Roots in September. I was so excited about that, and then we just kept holding out. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Have you guys thought about like and it doesn't seem like it would be really your vibe, but a lot of bands are like starting to think or talk or do the live stream shit?
I've thought about that like personally, and I've only been in Black Tusk for I don't know, like coming up, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 years. Time just is weird. But it's like I've known Black Tusk since they started, but I've only been in the band for so many years, and I've always known Black Tusk as being a live band. And like I know like the records are the records, but it's a different thing to see. Like I don't know, the performance is kind of where it's at, and then to just see that on a screen, I don't know. It doesn't come across And
Right, and that's what I meant. Like before I even said it, I was like, it's not really your guys' vibe. But then again, I see some bands that are starting to make it work. Like Every Time I Die is doing that Titathon coming up, and I think it looks more like they're doing like goofy shit, funny shit. I don't know. Just every band out there is starting to figure out a way to make it work and keep everybody entertained.
I mean, I love that. Like, I love that bands are doing that because it gives me something to watch and stuff. I just don't think I don't want to speak for everybody, but plus with James living so far away, it's like it's so difficult just to get us all in the same room. And so when we are in the same room, we'd rather be writing new stuff.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, to me, where my focus is on, progressing and just, writing some new stuff.
Has that been going real fruitful for you guys yet?
Yeah, we want to get back to the, I say get back to, this is really my first record I'm writing with them, but they wanted to get back to the idea of, everybody's a part of writing the record. Everybody's present when we're writing the record, rather than, hey, I wrote this whole song, here's how to play it. Because, throughout the years, people get busy and somebody will show up and be like, hey, I wrote this song. And then everybody else is like, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Okay, let's play it. And then that's how songs get written. And I think this time around, we kind of want to be like, let's all put some input, and just, write it as a full band.
Yeah. I was always bad about that when I was in bands. I was a vocalist in a hardcore band about a year ago. And they would collaboratively write songs. And I've been a guitar player for much longer than a vocalist, but I never actually input. In the history of that band, I never put any input into the guitar parts. And then when they would write songs, they would send me like a phone recording of it. And I would like write some lyrics to it and then show up and do the vocals a couple of times. And then until it was time to write more songs, I just wouldn't show up to practice. So for the longest time, like, people would go over there and hang out and be like, where's that old Sandwich Jones at? Like, isn't he in this band? They're like, yeah, he's in it. He just doesn't show up to practice. They're like, what, does he suck? No, he just doesn't show up. And I would show up to shows and nail it and be like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, so my previous band before Black Tusk, we, I would come to practice and I'd have a riff. And that's really as far as I would go. Is like, I'd make a riff or like maybe part A, part B, and show up, and I would have something in my head, and then our drummer would play something, and it was completely polar opposite of the way I was thinking, but it always worked. And I was like, okay, that's not what I thought this was going to sound like, but I'm not going to tell you how to play the drums. I'm not going to tell you how to do this. Like, that's your instrument. And I don't know. I just feel like, that's part of being a band is, it's not just one person's ideas unless you're, Dave Grohl. Then you're just like, I'm the leader. And, bands like that, I just don't even want to be a part of.
It's a fucking nightmare. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, at that point, you're just a hired hand.
Yeah. I was in a band once where when I joined, they were already established. And so I thought that I would be playing guitar with one of the other guitarists, and I knew his style specifically, and I was really excited to write with him. But I joined in there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well he's leaving the band, so you need to learn all these songs." And I was like, "Okay, that could be fun." But then like I started playing some of my stuff, and they're like, at some point they decided to just drop all of that, and they were like, well, let's just write new stuff with you. And at first I was like, fuck yeah, this is going to be so awesome. But like, I don't know, after 6 months in, it just became like, holy fuck, like this is a lot of shit for one person to try and write. And like, I don't know, once you get other ideas in there and like trying to get a drummer that's like, he's been with this other guy for a long time, so those two are really in tune with each other, but he's not in tune with me and my style. It just became a fucking nightmare. So
yeah. No, I totally get that. I've definitely been in that boat before. Luckily, like, James is just such a rock and roll drummer, and he's super fun to play with, and he's such a heavy hitter. Like, I mean, he bashes the hell out of his drums, which sounds amazing. But him and Andrew have been playing together for so long, and then I've come in with some new ideas and stuff. So it's the writing's been going well, but we're just riffing, and I kind of want to get James in town for like a week, just stay at my house, and Andrew can come over after work and just
go for it.
Write half a record in a week.
Are you going to be tracking that album when that day comes?
I hope so. Like, I mean, I'm always down to record. Like, the great thing is like, Andrew and I spent, 2 or 3 months building out this studio, and, it's not the best, but it's mine.
Exactly.
It's our space. We can come in here whenever we want. We can be in here as long as we want. I've got toys that we can play with. We can be loud. We can play all night. But if we wanted to do pre-production here and go and record with, I'm by no means an amazing engineer. I can get by, but if the option came up to go record with like Joe Barresi or something like that, I'd be like, oh my God, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
they've recorded with Joel Grind and Jack and Dino, like they've worked with some pretty awesome people, and if that opportunity were to arise where we're like, well, look, we can go record with this dude who's made these records that we love, am I gonna be like, no, we're gonna record in my suit? Absolutely not. We're gonna go record with them because they're badass.
Most definitely. I mean, Joe Barresi alone, shit, I'd make a band just to deal with that.
Dude, Joe Barresi, like, that dude has made such great records. I met him at NAMM a couple years ago, and he was so cool. He was just the nicest dude.
Nicer, yeah.
He was just the nicest dude.
Not so much a CLA, but because I've heard some stories about CLA, but I've never heard a bad story about Barresi.
Oh, dude, you mean? Yeah, CLA refers to himself as CLA.
Yeah, the unspoken name.
Yeah, but no, Joe Barresi, he was because basically, like, my badge at NAMM didn't have my name on it, and they're not supposed to let you in without it, like, if your name doesn't match your ID. And so we got talking about that, and his said Evil Joe, and he was saying how, like, the year before they didn't let him in because it said Evil Joe. And
you can't do that to that man.
I know.
How fucking dare
He's a legend. Like, I mean, he did like almost all the good Bad Religion records. I don't know.
He did that. What was the name of that Australian metalcore band? Fuck. Dude, fuck. The album name was Deep Blue.
Parkway Drive?
Parkway Drive. He did that album. And, like, every album prior to that sounded like early 2000s metalcore, really clicky kick drum, like pretty thin guitar tone. Vocals were just out in the middle of fucking space. Joe Barresi did that album. It's called Deep Blue. And I swear to God, like, that is one of the heaviest sounding albums. Like, the material's pretty okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But, like, just how fat it sounds, because the man's not... I think that's, like, the only, like, metal core kind of style that he had done up until that point. So, like, I mean, he's had plenty of experience with other types of heavy, but, like, you know what I mean, as far as the specific kind of nuances. But, like, dude, it's crushing how heavy it sounds, because Joe fucking Barresi, boys.
Yeah, dude, like, Joe Barresi's production on Brian Baker's guitars for Bad Religion. I mean, Brian Baker's just a complete badass guitar player anyway. And yeah, I just love his guitar tone.
He falls into the school of people that make guitars like directly into your face, almost like you can hear the cabinet vibrations. Like
Yeah.
I can almost hear the speaker comb.
And when you like listen to him talk about how he mics it up, he's like, "Oh yeah, just throw a 421 or 57." It's like, dude, no, you're not just doing that. It doesn't.
What's happening?
But I will say, recently I used so when I first started to explore multiple microphones and it's like, oh wow, you can put multiple microphones on a guitar cabinet. I think this is back in like '05. I got a Sennheiser E609. So I would put a 57 and a Sennheiser E609 every single time. And that was like always my guitar setup. And then, I eventually went from that to, a 421 or a Royer or like some kind of ribbon mic or a condenser. And, recently I've been just playing around with just a solo 57 and just moving it until I find that right spot. And then you don't have to worry about, your phase issues with having multiple mics. And man, you can get a 57 to sound mean as hell.
Oh yeah. The Royer is super badass though if you have like a clean tone with like a Fender and you pull that Royer like all the way back.
Well, Royers are just badass anyway.
Yeah, so. They really are.
It's hard to actually like Royers are badass, and then I've got some of the AEA N22s.
Damn.
And those are really cool. And I got a pair of Coles 4038s a couple of years ago. And those just absolutely, they just live on my drum overheads. Something about, a dark ribbon on drum overheads that's just like, just butter. It's just
those microphones have a life of their own.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds so specific.
It's funny, like as soon as we flew into England last May, so we flew from Georgia to London to play Desert Fest, and as soon as we got off the plane, we checked into our hostel, which was like a submarine sardine canister of a room for 6 people and all our gear. And I looked it up on Google Maps. It's like, who wants to walk to Abbey Road with me? And I don't give this might be blasphemous, but I don't give a fuck about the Beatles. But I was like, who wants to go to Abbey Road? I want to walk to Abbey Road, and I don't really like the Beatles, but I dig Pink Floyd, and Abbey Road has just got this unbelievable list of bands that have recorded there, and the microphone. I was just oh man, just being outside of that room is just fuck.
They don't even have a microphone locker. They have a microphone warehouse.
They actually never sell microphones either.
Oh, of course not. Why would they?
They never sell them. They keep them. They're archived or something.
I mean,
because it's a piece of history.
Is insane.
Yeah.
Just those rooms. I've always wanted to be one of the fortunate bands to do where they film a set in there, because I feel like that would be just a clinic on
so cool
beautiful gear.
A couple years ago, I put some of that RLX stuff on my walls and used the spray adhesive, which that stuff just ruins your walls.
Oh yeah.
This is 10, 15 years ago. And I was taking it down, and I was just listening on a set of good headphones while I'm sitting there pulling all the stuff off the wall, Dark Side of the Moon. And man, that record just sounded so absolutely amazing for the dynamics and the quality of the recording for when it was made.
Oh yeah.
It's just a completely timeless record.
It doesn't make sense.
It just sounds so good. And it's so cool because you see videos of them recording Money, and that's before you have samplers and stuff for all those sounds. So it's these giant tape loops that were just running through the room. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's a lightning in a bottle situation.
Totally. I mean, that's how mixing was back then. It's mixing was a performance all on its own because there was no automation. Well, before the 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
So moving forward with Black Tusk, I mean, is the goal to try to keep everything as in-house as possible, with maybe having you producing and engineering the album, if there is to be a next album?
I think that's the goal, is to do as much DIY as possible. I mean, it's kind of how we all grew up, and you know, the first couple Black Tusk records were put out on Hyperrealist, which that was our buddy Pat, and you know, they would go to a studio. This is before we had a good studio to like locally, so they would drive up to the Jam Room in Columbia, South Carolina, and record up there. I think that's where they did. Let's see. I think they did Passage Through Purgatory, Taste of Sin. A lot of the early stuff were all done there. And yeah, so like they would just go, which Columbia is basically, you know, Columbus to Cincinnati. You know, it's just a suburb.
Yeah, we get it.
You just get on the road, drive a couple hours, and you're there. So you know, yeah. I mean, Jay's like family to us. So like, you know, if going to record with him, like he always treats us right, and he's an awesome dude. He's got an amazing ear. So it's always a blast hanging out with him.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, just, you know, if we can do a DIY and like make it sound huge and make it sound like Black Tusk, then absolutely. Why wouldn't we?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's honestly, there's like a punk rock aesthetic to that. And not only that, but like a lot of bands that try to keep everything in house and they actually give themselves time to like sit in the studio and really dig deep into writing and getting everything in there that they want, instead of like going into a studio and being like, well, fuck, I only have this amount of time, I gotta hurry. And, you know, I think it just produces better albums. There's so many fucking records out there.
You know, but at the same time, that's a double-edged sword, because a lot of times you go into the studio and you say, okay, I only have this much time.
That's
and
true.
It makes you commit to a sound. It makes you commit, and like, you're not like, oh, I'll just come back, I'll redo that. Or we don't have to like commit to that tone, and we can always redo it. You know, there's something good about saying, okay, this is the tone, we're moving forward, that's it. And just saying, was that a good enough take? Did I mess it up horribly? No. Is it passable? Yes. Can you do it better? Okay, let's do it again.
This sounds like making your album, bud. I've been producing my pal here's album for we're going on 2 years. And that's exactly the
Well, to be fair, fucking finding time is half the problem. But to further my argument, I will say Converge.
Okay.
I've heard of them.
No. Hell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, those dudes are awesome. Yeah, Kurt's an amazing engineer, and the stuff that he does always sounds amazing. It's funny because like I look back on records that I listened to, you know, back when I was getting out of college or still in high school, and Kurt did those. Like Kurt did American Nightmare background noise, and I didn't know that for the longest time, but that's still like to this day one of my favorite hardcore records.
Yeah.
And like Champion from Seattle, I played in this band, and our first show was with Terror, Death Threat, and Champion in DC, and Champion just blew me away. Yeah. And I looked on the back of that record years later, was like, oh wow, they did this at God City, how cool.
Yeah. What a fucking lineup. Let's not, I mean, we glossed over that pretty hard. Holy shit, what a lineup. In DC, no less.
Yeah,
Good fucking night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I grew up in Virginia, so, like, man, yeah, DC, or Virginia had, like, so I was born in the 80s and pretty much grew up in the 90s in Virginia. So, like, about the time I was in high school was, like, the late 90s. And, you know, that's when, like, Avail, Strike Anywhere, like, all these amazing bands were happening. Fugazi, and dude, like, I remember seeing the first time I saw Avail was at Mac Rock, the Mid-Atlantic College Radio Conference in Harrisonburg, which was my hometown. And it was Avail. They were just getting ready to release Over the James, and man, that was like one of the first shows I ever saw in my life. I think it was like 97 or 98. And man, that was so cool. That was such an amazing show.
What an era.
Yeah, no fucking kidding. Wish I could have been around for that.
No doubt.
And like, you know, you see like Strike Anywhere now, they're huge, but I saw Strike Anywhere in like basements. And that was just, you know, Strike Anywhere in a basement, there is nothing better than that.
Oh,
I can
yeah,
only
fuck
fucking
no.
imagine, yeah.
About a year ago, I got really lucky. Like, I guess not lucky. I mean, it worked out, but one of my favorite bands growing up was Comeback Kid. And
oh, yeah.
I was like, man, when I heard Comeback Kid, it was like a whole thing. It was.
I love the bass tone on Wake the Dead.
My God, what a fucking tone!
It's just it's just a straight up Sans amp. So to me, it sounds like a Fender Jazz on a Sans amp. But I mean, that is the hardcore bass tone.
God, it's so good though. I mean, and the fact that it's carrying over into like heavier bands, and they're really starting to push that. Like, you know, Dark Glass is really making the move. But like last year, I got to open their show up here in Cincinnati with the band I was in at the time, and like I asked them if like, hey, is it cool if I photograph you guys? Which no band really fucking is gonna say no to that generally, but like I always still ask because I was gonna be in the backstage sort of area, and they as soon as they started playing Wake the Dead, me and the bass player of my band ran up on stage and started fucking doing vocals with them. Dude. And I was like, dude, I don't care if someone kicks my ass. I'm fucking doing this. This is happening.
Yeah. I did the same thing with 7 Seconds when I saw them in Richmond. As soon as, like, I was in a band for a while, we used to play Young Till I Die. And as soon as they kicked in the Young Till I Die, it's like, no, I'm going up there.
I'm going to punch somebody in the fucking face on the way out, too.
Which, I mean, like, Kevin Seconds is, like, the nicest, sweetest dude in the world. And so, like, when you get up there and sing with him, like, he's just, like, all just, yeah, this is great. And just, like, he's such a positive guy. I mean, it's 7 Seconds.
Yeah.
We are the crew.
Fucking A.
So, it sounds like you've grown up in the hardcore scene, like, in the earlier years. I mean, is that a vibe that we should be expecting you to bring to the table for Black Tusk?
You know, before I moved to Savannah, I was playing in a hardcore band, and you know, I've always been into that hardcore. I mean, you know, that's always been something I'm into, and I dig it, but like, not like I've never gotten into like that tough guy beat down hardcore stuff. Yeah. I like that stuff's never really gotten to me, but I mean, like, I don't know if you think about it, like, yeah, I probably not hardcore, but I mean, Black Tusk has always had that heavy sound and is slightly melodic. I would probably, like, if anything, I might bring a little bit more of a melodic sense to it, but yeah, I mean, Black Tusk will be heavy. Like, their last 2 records have been pretty fast already.
Killer's Bash is fucking great. I love that goddamn album.
On Closed Eye, on the latest, that song definitely has like the hardcore 2-step vibe to me.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite songs to play live. That's a fun song.
It's balls out. It's a party.
Yeah.
When I heard that, because it sounded different than the other stuff, I was just like, no shit. There we go. There's a little bit of that 2-step.
Yeah, that's a fun song.
So, yeah. I've been bugging you all week about influences, because that's a big part of what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
Did you ever think of anything, any influential moment? And before we get to that, I actually want to mention something. I actually looked you guys up on Wikipedia, just like, I kind of looked around to find different things, because I didn't want to come on here and like ask you the same shit that it's available everywhere. But yeah. I saw on fucking Wikipedia something about like, you don't like to talk about influence, not you specifically, but the band doesn't like to talk about influences or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I thought that was pretty fucking funny.
that's interesting. Well, I mean, as far as like, you know, my personal influences go, like, I mean, really the whole band, we all grew up in like that punk rock scene and like just punk, and, you know, James probably like dabbles a little bit more into like the 80s metal scene, but I'm definitely like, out of all of them, like the most punk. And I mean, I don't mean like, you know, mohawk and studded jacket punk, but you know, just punk rock stuff. But
Damaged era Black Flag is the vibe that I get.
Like, I mean, like I absolutely love the Descendants.
Okay.
And I never thought I'd get to see them, but I finally got to see them a couple of years ago, and that was absolutely amazing. I mean, as far as like, you know, I was like, somebody, like, when you said, you know, think of a single record that was influential to me, is like, man, that's really hard to do.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's well, one record, like,
for me, I have several of them. I have like
exactly
like milestone records, and that's what I mean. I mean, you could pick any one of them to talk about.
I mean, like, there's you know, back when I think it was like when I was in middle school, my friends, they would they came to school one time and they had like all these the things you get in the back of the magazine. It's like the BMG music group, and you get 12 CDs for the price of one. And so like that was, you know, you're like 12, 13 years old. You don't know what music is. So you're just like, okay, I've seen this shirt. I've seen that guy. I've seen this one on TV. So you get them, you listen to them, and they're like, okay, that's the song off like MTV, or that's the song off this. And you listen to it and you're like, okay, that song's okay. And then the rest of the record's just garbage. I mean, it's just like radio crap.
Yeah.
And the great thing was, so that was probably when I was about 12, 13, getting into like late middle school, probably 14. And, you know, I just get the shit that comes in the mail, and I'm just like, oh, whatever, it's music. And we got a store in Harrisonburg. It was just this dude who opened a record store, and he would buy and sell used records. So I took all these CDs that I got off BMG for like $1 and took them down there. I was like, hey, can I sell these? And he gave me, you know, store credit. So I got to go buy actual stuff that I had. People were like, hey, you should check this out. Hey, you should. And that's when I first got like Descendants, Everything Sucks. Because I mean, that came out like 96, I think. So that's probably right around that time. You know,
I have a fun story about the first time I ever heard Descendants, and we'll put a pin in that and come back to it. But please continue on.
But yeah, like, I mean, Descendants, Rancid, Out Come the Wolves, Minor Threat, complete the discography. Like, you know, Minor Threat, that, if as far as like any band that I've been listening to for like the longevity, like that's one that I've, you know, I always come back to, and I'll always put them on, and it's never old.
Yeah, I still have a out of step tattoo, so buddy, I'm with you.
Andrew and I, we actually were in, like, we actually had, so we, like years ago, every Halloween there was like a cover show, and for like 4 or 5 years in a row, Andrew and I had started doing a Minor Threat cover band.
Yes.
Where we would cover like 18 songs, and our set was only like 22 minutes.
Yes.
Was this when you were still in Virginia?
No. This was like probably 2 or 3 years after I moved to Savannah. Like, so this is probably like 08, 09.
Oh, okay.
And so we started playing, we started a Minor Threat band. We call ourselves Bottled Violence, because we get really drunk and play straight edge music.
Hell yes.
Yes.
And like, it got to the point to where like, we had the idea that we were going to change bass players every show. Just for fun. But then it got to the point to where like Andrew would always go on tour, and we're like, well, what are we going to do while Andrew's on tour with the rest of the band? So that's how my other band started, was we just added a singer, and we were like, we just joked around. We're like, okay, now let's write the songs that Minor Threat never wrote.
The trick is to become full meta and then have a bass player for every different song. There'd be a lot of fucking bass players.
Yeah, it's like a piece of gum.
Every guitar player is a bass player, whether they admit it or not.
See, that's the thing is like I would consider myself a bass player over a guitar player.
Same.
It's just once you like have picked up a guitar, it's so weird. It's like you would think more people would need a bass player, but everyone's like, hey, you're gonna play guitar for this project. Really?
There's something about bringing the low end to a fucking song, bringing the beef.
Yeah.
That just feels way better. And you don't have to worry about 4K and EQing and well, you still got EQ, but you know what I mean. Like just loud ass guitar cabs. I love them, but damn, I just like bringing the beef, bud.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like so many guitar players just try to have this heavy tone and everything. It's like, dude, if you just let the bass do it, it would just, I don't know, it might sound a little bit more level.
One of those giant old Mesa cabs, a shit ton of power to the ass of it, and one of them dark glass B7Ks, and just let her eat.
See, I've seen the dark glass stuff, and I hear people raving about it, but I've never actually like personally played one.
Neural DSP has the like plug-in version of it that you can try for like I think like a week or something.
Oh yeah?
It's worth checking out. I got down in Tennessee. A pal of mine has the B7K, and we had some fun experiments comparing the pedal to the plug-in, and it's not bad. It's not far off.
Nice. I just got the Friedman BEOD pedal.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Like I even like opened the back and turned down the internal pot, and it's still like, so much gain.
So much gain, yeah.
But the fact that it has the tight, like the low end roll off, it's like, just like tightens up the low end so much.
I heard you wanted to go to Tone Town. Well, I mean, yeah, that'll get you there pretty quick, bud.
Yeah.
It's a quick.
As Michelangelo Battio would say, I'm gonna hand you the keys to the Lamborghini.
Man, I miss those videos. I'm gonna have to look those up.
Speed kills.
Yes. Man, what an era. That was an era too. That was the
dude
shit.
Nitro. I remember the first time somebody showed me that freight train video for Nitro.
Yes.
Oh. Whoo.
And then the whole like everybody saying that you couldn't play the 24th Capriccio on guitar, and then Jason Becker was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah.
Now everybody's doing it.
Exactly.
I seen a video of the guitar player from Dragon Force because he like streams now, and he was on YouTube like reacting to someone playing the 24th Capriccio. I was just like, oh okay, now everybody can fucking do it.
Yeah,
Classic.
dude, YouTube is like, I feel like it's made people just, instead of like actually writing songs, they just like sit there and practice their sweeps.
Yeah, it's what everybody was doing like for a few years in the early 2000s, but now it's like a career, bud. It's a career in itself. Jason Richardson showed up, cool. And it just changed everything.
That's cool for them.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny though, because like, you know, with this whole lockdown thing, you know, I've watched The Office and Breaking Bad too many times, so pretty much YouTube's like my only source of like new content to keep up, and I don't have cable, so you know, I'll watch the news pretty much off YouTube, and yeah.
Having cable now is like when you would go over to a friend's house and they would still have a home phone.
Yeah.
Just kind of like, you still have a home phone? It's weird, right? Now it's
like
funny. People with cable.
Like recently, like, you know, Georgia football is a big thing here, and there was one night that, you know, my wife said, maybe we should watch a Georgia game. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some beer, I'm gonna get some Doritos, and I'm gonna go buy an antenna, and we're gonna watch some Georgia Bulldogs. So I went and bought an antenna, put it up, and like, you know, did my TV, like streamed through the channels and all that. And as soon as I turned it on, I was like, oh my God, we get Jeopardy. This is awesome. I was so excited. And then like 2 weeks later, Alex Trebek died. I was like, did I do this?
I'm going to take that antenna down.
Did my waves from my TV just like,
Yes.
I was so bummed. I was so excited about watching some Jeopardy.
We're just gonna take that antenna on down, but I think that's for the best.
Yeah.
That's what you get for buying an antenna in fucking 2020.
Hey,
I
man.
know, right? What is this, like 1974?
What is this, Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Oh man, I fucking love that show. I can't even pretend.
Yeah.
But it went downhill, man. It went downhill.
I think this next season's gonna be a fucking ripper. Now that they've had to like shelf it for a while because of COVID, they're gonna have to come back just swinging dick. That's what they're gonna do.
We'll see. We'll see.
I mean, the ending was pretty predictable last time. I won't blow it for anybody that's gonna listen to this, but I want to, and I just won't. I won't. I have self-control, somewhat. But man, I hope they do. I don't know when this is coming out next. Like what, January-ish?
What?
This.
Oh.
So like we're still scheduling. We're working on our schedule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. But we've been turning over badass art in the meantime for it. It's gonna be sick.
Nice.
But shit, I don't know where the fuck I was going. Oh yeah, I didn't want to date this because talking about that, it's probably already out. I don't know. I don't know when that's coming out. Maybe never. Who knows? I went down a spiral.
What the fuck is happening?
I went on a fucking spiral, but it happened.
Fuck.
Had a lot of caffeine.
Well, anywho's, so we're talking about Minor Threat, Descendants.
Yeah.
Big fucking stoked on those, yeah?
Dude, yeah, there's something about the Descendants, man, that it's funny because so my wife, she moved to Colorado pretty much like 6 months after I'd met her. So I moved to Savannah in 2006, met my wife like a month later, and met who would become my wife a month later. And she moved to Fort Collins, Colorado. And so first time I ever went there, I contacted Blasting Room, which is owned by Bill Stevenson. And, you know, I was like, you know, I was so green. I couldn't tell, you know, a 57 from a 421, but I mean, I could, but I was just like, let me just come in there and just, you know, I'll intern. And I got to go in there, got an interview, and, you know, they showed me around, and I got to see the studio. They walked me into the equipment room. I got to see like the Black Flag Vista Light drum kit with the 4 bars on. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then, you know, they walked me into Studio A, and like in the chair spins around, and it's like, hey, Bill, this is Chris. And you just go, oh, hey, Chris. I'm like, holy shit, that's Bill Stevenson. This is so, and he was just, my wife used to serve him sushi. She worked at a sushi restaurant out there, and she's like, man, you're like, you live in the same town as the Descendants. This is so cool. Like, I don't know. There's just, that's like, Descendants are always been such a cool band, and just the antithesis of the punk rock image, but they just make such badass records.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah. So, I mean, so with this Descendants, would you say, is that like one of the first bands that really got you paying attention to music? I mean, everybody has that moment where they're listening to whatever band and they're just like, oh, hey, that sounds neat. And usually you're a kid listening to your parents' music, or maybe you do what you did and you're getting something from out of a magazine, or some kid is at school is like, hey, check this out. I mean, was the Descendants, was that your band?
Yeah, you know, I forget like who pointed me in that direction, but it was just like, I remember like being at Town and Campus Records, and somebody was like, you should get this. And so I was like, okay, I'll get it. And I just remember like going home and just like, because I think in my head at that age, I had so much energy, and I was just like, I was like, I wanted something fast and something angry, but something, it still had to be like, you know, melodic and like, I didn't want just, you know, Morbid Angel. Ooh, like, I was like, you know, I want something that's, you know, fun to listen to, that doesn't put you in a bad mood, because most of the time I am in a bad mood. And, you know, like, just, I found punk rock to be like that fast, energetic, mostly upbeat. Like, there's still some like, you know, melodic yet, you know, minor key stuff going on that's, you know, just still completely badass. But then, you know, like a Gateway, you kind of get into the heavier stuff, and then you get into like it kind of. Just because you like punk rock doesn't mean you're gonna. Well, I'll say this. I think one of the things that got me into punk rock was like my dad was like super into like 70s rock, and the cool thing is my dad never pushed music on me, which is probably why I like it so much. And my brother was like super into Metallica, but this is like 90s Metallica, like Load. So once I started going down that, like when he was like playing like Metallica Load, I was like, that's the, like, I don't want any part of that. that's just like, like King Nothing. Yeah. Get out of my face. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go down the punk rock route. And years later I find like, Ride the Lightning and Master Puppets, Kill 'Em All. And I was like, oh, that stuff's awesome. Why weren't you listening to that?
Right.
But yeah, so I just dove down the path of punk rock, and for like pretty much from like 15 to like 18, nothing was fast enough. It was just like faster, and you would think I would have gotten into like speed metal or something, but no, it was just like I wanted like punk rock, super fast and just like yelling. But I don't know, it was a weird.
The like the power violence route, like Infest or Capitalist Casualties and those type bands.
Yeah.
There's not
Those are great.
there's not like a linear metric for determining like how fast is too fast for punk, because like there's different types of fast where it's not necessarily fast by measure. It's like it's just fast
totally
some other fucking magic way that I don't understand.
Yeah.
I've been stuck on Go It Alone super hard lately.
I mean, like that's probably what got me into like progressed me from like just punk rock like Descendants into hardcore music, which seeing like bands like American Nightmare and I don't know, Champion, like these just probably Champion is probably like the most like Champion, Comeback Kid, like those are like the most hardcore, like your typical hardcore bands.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know.
I get it.
I'm going on a tangent. But I feel like, yeah.
I went on a spiral. You went on a tangent. It's a whole thing.
And now it's my turn.
I actually discovered the Descendants, quite a few years after you did. Funny thing is, Warped Tour used to put out like samplers, and they had this like Punkorama thing.
Oh, dude, yeah.
This
I know.
I'm going. Descendants coffee mug. It was on one of those, and I think it was 2002, maybe 2003. That was the first time that I was ever introduced to the Descendants, and this kid showed me it, and he was like, "Hey, man, I know you like some metal stuff, because I grew up. My parents had me like really young. They were super into like Metallica and all the 90s stuff, Nirvana, shit like that. And by that point, at that age, I was getting into more like Pantera, Slayer, a little harder metal stuff. And this kid came along with this fucking Punkorama, and that was actually the standout track for me. But for years and years, there was also a Pennywise track on that fucking Punkorama.
Perfect People.
Yeah, and I thought Coffee Mug was by Pennywise for several years. For whatever fucking stupid reason.
Was Hot Water Music on that one?
No.
That might have been like 2004-ish.
Yeah, that Punkorama, I joked around with some friends years ago, because we actually did a Rancid cover band a couple like maybe 6-7 years ago.
These are great Halloween parties, by the way.
Oh yeah. They we did a lot of we called ourselves And Out Come the Wolves with an F. But yeah, we had Corey actually showed up, so it was me and Corey, and he actually played second guitar, but he brought his whole Hammond organ, so when we played Time Bomb, he actually played the organ.
Fucking A. That's a lot of effort, boys.
But then like we were headlining that night, and as people were like, we shut it down like right at 3 o'clock in the morning, like right when the bar was shutting down, or it was like maybe last call or something, and we just finished our last song, and we walked back on stage to do an encore, and we played 2 Operation Ivy songs, and as soon as we like go into Knowledge, I know things again. Dude, everybody that was walking out the door like turned around and ran back in. It was so awesome.
That's fucking great.
We used to do many moons ago. We were really hot into like Soulfly and like that type of metal, and I remember we did a cover of Roots.
Heard they call it new metal.
Yeah, you could probably slip that in there. Kiss my ass. This was like 2003. It was a weird era. Okay.
I heard they call it the Savannah River.
Fucking Armageddon was the hot movie, and like.
Oh, dude, you can't fuck with Armageddon, man.
Oh,
well, I guess Deep Impact did.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. But we did a cover of Roots. It was like the first time we ever played in Cincinnati, and we were from fucking small town nowhere, and we came up here and people were like fucking pissing on the street and just being rowdy, and we were just like, where the fuck are we right now? Just completely out of our element. And they gave no fucks about our set whatsoever. They were just like, these guys are terrible, which was fair. I'll give them that. I'm not arguing that.
We've all been there.
There was a crew. I probably shouldn't. Yeah, they were the O'Doyle crew, and they didn't like us. And O'Doyle rules. I'll say it. But we started to play Roots, Bloody Roots from fucking Soulfly. Soulfly, right? That's not. Yeah, whatever. No one's. Sepultura.
That's Sepultura.
Kiss my ass. Same band. I'll say it. And we started playing that, and it was one of those situations where like the crowd for some reason was just like, oh shit, okay. And suddenly everybody liked us for the old couple of measures of that song we got there before failing miserably. But by God, it worked for a minute, and we were like, did you fucking see that? We were the coolest.
Did you see those fucking 5 guys out there? They were really pumped.
That was the moment I peaked. That was my peak. That was it. Back it up, boys.
It's all downhill from here.
Fucking hell it was too. Jeez. Now my back hurts. Fall asleep sitting up watching Matlock.
That sounds fucking great. I don't know why you're bitching about that.
Yeah. Sounds like a Thursday.
Yep.
Oh, which it is. All right.
Fall asleep.
Oh man, that's the life. What are 3 things you're currently stoked on there, bud?
Oh, now we're into the fun part of the podcast. I guess James decided
3 things I'm currently stoked on.
It could be anything. Nothing. Whatever you want. Anything.
I'm stoked on the idea of not having Trump as our president.
I'm with that.
We're big with it.
I'm big on the idea. We'll see if it actually happens because,
yeah, it's still
America's stupid and people are still fighting it. But I don't want to go down a political route. I just hate that man.
I'm with you.
Something else I'm stoked on is, man, I would just love to, I don't know, play some music. That would make me super stoked. Yeah, just playing guitar. I don't really have. I got an ABY pedal today, and that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
So now I can run two heads at once, and be more loud.
That's right.
So I'm stoked on that. I don't know. Stoked on the year being over.
Can we all just take a moment and accept the fact that we survived 2020? Well,
dude, don't say that. Like, we still got
I blew the load a little bit there.
There are exactly 21 days left in this year, and you can't say you survived.
We escaped. I'm saying I'm saying it, boys.
The girl underneath you right now is really disappointed.
The what?
The girl underneath of you right now.
Underneath of me? The fuck are you?
It's
okay.
It's metaphorically, you fucking loser.
Yeah, fair.
All right. Anything else that you're stoked on right now, other than fucking close to over? I think that's over 3, but who gives a fuck?
Let's see. Have I got any new music lately? Let's look at my the old iTunes and see what I've been listening to recently.
Well, goddamn, that was the next question I was gonna ask. So fucking shooter, boys.
And nothing new. Okay, so something I'm not stoked on it as in like present tense or like future tense. I'm stoked on it like from like a week or two ago. But the band The Well from Austin, Texas played a live show. It was like a live stream, and I just got drunk in the studio and cranked the speakers and put on the big screen, and man, that was so awesome.
Dude, hell yeah. I've been enjoying those live streams from different bands.
Some of them are good, but theirs sounded really, really good, and I was really pumped on that. It was the closest I've gotten to live music in a minute.
I shot a video a while back for a band up here. There's a venue that it's like an old church that they converted, and they have like they're doing live streams off of the stage now since they can't have normal shows. But they filmed a full session for that to put out for the bar. It's called Urban Artifact.
FERDA.
Fuck yeah, for the boys. And so after they finished up with that, we took the opportunity to shoot a music video and just like a live performance and a couple of takes. And I swear to God that the vibe of that thing, like it just carries because it feels like the way we lit it and like the fog and stuff. There's like this massive guitar solo, and it feels very straight out of the '80s, like Eddie Van Halen vibe.
Nice.
And I rewatched it today because we're finally releasing it tomorrow, and I was like, man, it felt like I was at a fucking show for about a hot 10 seconds there, and that was pretty rad. Good times, boys.
Yeah.
So The Well from, you said Texas?
Yeah, from Austin.
I'm gonna punch them in now.
All right. Well, man, I think we're gonna cut it off here.
All right.
Fucking great conversation, dude. I mean, you just pretty much, before I could even ask, you pretty much put everything out there that I was gonna ask.
Right on.
I cannot say how fucking stoked I am to hear what you bring to the table with Black Tusk for the next album, whenever that happens.
Yeah, dude, I'm really excited. I can't wait to like spend more time on it.
Dude, it's awesome. This was great, man.
Awesome. Yeah, it was great meeting you guys.
Do you have anything you want to plug before we roll out there, good buddy?
Yeah.
Just check out Black Tusk. We just put out a kind of a anthology of B-sides and rarities about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago called Years in Black on Bandcamp. It's on Bandcamp only. It's I think 16 songs of splits, like things that were just like never released, this, that, and the other. And yeah, it's name your own price. So, if you got a couple of bucks, I know everybody's tight these days, but it helps us out immensely. And if you can, send us a couple bucks. If not, you can get it. And just, something you may have heard mixed with a bunch of stuff you may have not have heard.
Oh yeah, buddy.
Well, we'll for sure be checking it out.
We will put links to all that, and if there's anything when this releases, because we're still working on schedule, but when this releases, we'll make sure that anything also recent will be on there to share as well.
Cool,
boys.
One last thing. Do you have your studio on any kind of social media? Is there any place do you want to be found on social media?
Yeah, the studio. It's on Instagram. It's Hidden Audio 912. But it's kind of one of those things where like the studio, I it's not really a commercial thing. Okay. So I don't really like if bands find out about it. Like I'd rather like if people reach out to me, like I don't don't feel bad if I'm like, yeah, maybe we're not the right fit. Doesn't mean you're like I don't like you. It just means like it's not the music I'm into, and I'm not necessarily into recording it. But Yeah, like I mean, it's my space, and time gets limited the older you get, so it's like I'm gonna work with bands that I want to work with, and yeah.
No, I
No, we get it.
most definitely get it, bud. Well, we appreciate you, and in the coming times, we'll let you know when this thing comes out, and we appreciate your time, bud.
Right on. Yeah, man. This was fun.
Nothing but the best for you and the boys. Thanks for coming to the FERDA RIFF podcast.
Right on, guys.
Take care, man.
All right. Take it easy. Later.